just take your jacket off in a cold room to feel like you're alive again. Oh dear, yeah, panic reason. Sup kids, how are you doing today? I was depressed recently. I say depressed. Maybe depressed recently. Kind of depressed recently. I don't know if it was depression. Could have been. I mean, so I wasn't actually necessarily depressed. But I was disassociating pretty hard, which, disassociation always sounds nice to people. It sounds like people love it. They're like, oh, it'd be great if I just didn't have to think about anything and just could stare off into the oblivion of life and all those kinds of things. But I mean, I wouldn't recommend it. I'm just gonna say it's not a skill you really want to learn. It's a skill which kind of gets thrust upon you, and sometimes you can use it to great effect. Like if you're in a really stressful situation. For instance, there's this. When I say I was disassociating hard, there is a day last week I have no idea what happened in that day. Couldn't even recount it to you. I imagine now, even if I look through whatever is on my phone for that day, or whatever is, sorry, checking the recording, or whatever was in my email, that day is gone. That day is lost. It is lost to the world. But one of the great things about disassociating, don't get me wrong, it's not all bad, is that it gives you this opportunity to just a blanket look at everything. I'm not here to promote it, but it gives you this view of the world, or it does in my case, where everything seems foreign. Literally everything. It's like being a visitor from space. It's like coming down and just saying, oh, so this is your world. Let's take a look at the world. Let's take a look at the world around you. What do you call it? You call this cereal? What is cereal? Are you calling it surreal? Why am I saying surreal? Can I not pronounce your language correctly? Is it because I have 12 tongues and I'm from outer space? I mean, it gives you that. It's like a superpower at times because of that. And again, I'm not condoning it. I'm just saying this is how it feels when you're doing it. You're like in that moment. You're like, ah. Of course, the other side of that is that I end up kind of having to touch walls to feel like I still exist. But I digress. We move on from that. Anyway. But I was in this state, and I was in this kind of mental break as I was having it. And one of the things which suddenly occurred to me, and I've known this for a while, and I think it gave me clarity of mind to a point where I could really just define what I wanted to say and what I wanted to express into an absolute one-liner. And it is that there is nowhere to go online, right? There is nowhere to go online. That's the baseline of that. There is no space on the internet for you to go to anymore. We have detached. We've detached from that. We're looking at this objectively. We're all gonna have a little dissociative moment. Embrace the fall. Embrace the fall. We're gonna live hard for a minute. Okay. So, I should explain what I say. So I came to this conclusion because I was in this state, and when I'm in this state, I want nothing. Right? If anything, I want entertainment. I want something to pull me out of it. I want something to drag me back. I want a cathartic feeling and to feel something from a space. Now, to get that in a space, there's a few ways you can do it, depending on your energy levels, depending on the time of day. I chose to look in my phone. So I went through my phone and I went through the apps I have within my phone, and every single app did nothing but irritate me more. It basically just poked my brain with like a little sharp stabbing motion and said, oh, hey, here's that thing. Stab, 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 stab. Here's some other stuff. Stab, 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 stab. Here's an advert. Stab, 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 stab. Here's someone shouting into the camera. Stab, stab, stab. Because you have no control over it. You have no control over these online platforms. And I went through 4 or 5 apps, all of them. Every app in my phone. I went to Facebook, I went to Instagram, I went to TikTok, I went to Imgur, I went to Reddit, I went to Google, I went to BBC and the news, everything. And everything was irritating me. Everything was irritating me to a point where I was like, why am I Why am I bombarding myself to this? And I think this is what people are getting at, right? You know, when people say they're taking a break from social media and it's all dramatic and they step away from everything and they try to get less screen time because it's making them sad. I think when you're in the personality state that I am, all of that stuff doesn't affect you. It's like white noise, and I've discussed this before. All of this is just white noise, and advertisements don't really come to me, so or have an effect on me. And then when I'm in this state where everything seems foreign to me, that seems more foreign to me, because now I'm in a state where I'm in my own locked in space and I'm in my own personal journey through the dusty trail, canyon valley as it were, with the mountains on side closing in on me, and the walls are grey because my apartment's grey, and I'm in that state. When I view all of that stuff, I'm like, I'm in a controlled space. This isn't. Why is this not controlled? Why are there no online spaces that I control? And even when you control these online spaces, they're not really in your control. And I think this is like a mix of the advertisements and the stuff being pushed to me. I think what's interesting is that people usually use television to turn off. Historically, television has been like a throw it on in the background, and even that was irritating me. I went to YouTube. I tried to watch some YouTube videos, and everything was just stab, 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 right in my brain. Of this is just irritating me more, which means I had no space, I had no escape, and no catharsis that could be found. So I ended up creating my own and having to create my own catharsis, which is what you do. And I mean, I knew this was the answer at all the end. This is what happens every single time I end up doing this. I end up having to create something, and that gives me the cathartic feeling. But when I came out of it and I was sat thinking, I was like, it's almost like it's unusual for me, because that white noise was suddenly having an impact. That white noise was suddenly very abrasive, and it got me thinking about how much that's changed from when I originally had the internet. When I originally had the internet, and I'm showing my age, but I'm in my mid-30s, so I'm allowed. And I thought back to the internet, and I thought there used to be so many blank spaces. Right? There'd be spaces you could go to, like websites, where you were never really pushed anything because they didn't know how to push stuff to you. And also, when you were pushed things, you were pushed individual things, not streams of content, not constant flicking, changing. And in a way, it's persistence of content which you're looking for. I think that's why TV still has a structure in place for this kind of turning off your brain notion, is that it is structured. It's very much clear of just, this is going to be, 30 minutes of whatever this is, with some breaks in between. I've recently started watching Cheers. I've never seen everything all the way through, and I'm about up to like season 8, season 9, and it's such a long going show, but it's very structured. This is going to happen within a space and time, and I think that's how people connect with sitcoms so wholeheartedly. But that represents a space like that. And the internet kind of used to be like that. You used to go to a website, it'd be like a random blog. There'd be no advertisements on it. It would just be someone's thoughts. And then you would sit and read through these thoughts. And it was safe. And it was safe in a way because there were no outside influences, right? There was no pop-up at the side which said, hey, accept the cookies, like this. Can we know your notifications on? Can we know your location? I'd love to know your location. Do you want to sign up for our email? Do you want to sign up for our newsletter? And all of that just wasn't there. You were just presented with the content, and the content was like, oh, hey, I'm writing this. I've made a small website about wrestling fandom, which is now a thing, and you can read through it. Congratulations, you found my website. Blah, 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 blah. Done. And all the original websites started off this way. It didn't push you onto the next video. It didn't automatically skip through. It didn't do any of that. And now, none of the social media apps are what I would consider a safe space. And I think what I'm really saying is, it's not even so much the advertisements. It's there is no online space where you won't experience that space trying to get you to view or experience the next thing. Okay? So it's less the advertisements are intrusive and in your face and all that. As we've said before, the ads don't work. It's more that it's taking away your decision to engage with the thing which is right in front of you. Because it wants you to view the next video. Videos can only be so many seconds long. Or I think TikTok's probably the worst example of this. TikTok shows you another video when you try to exit the app, and it's incredibly infuriating. You try to swipe off the app, and it's like, oh no, here's an extra one. You might want to view this extra one. Let's see if we can keep you here. Instagram does the same. You scroll down, it shows you something else. It shows you something else. Shows you something else. You do reels. If you watch a reel, it'll just push you onto the next one after a certain amount of time. You're watching YouTube. YouTube video ends. An advert plays. It automatically starts playing another video. Netflix, Prime, all of these things are like, up next. Let's play something else. Let's keep you here. Let's keep you entertained. We're keeping the constant stream going. We're bombarding you with information so you don't have to think about life. But this is really abrasive in a way because there's no safe space. There's no space on the internet where you can just stop. Right? There's no space on the internet where you can just... I think that's almost the genius behind the Google homepage, right? Google's homepage is blank. It is a search bar. It is not an advertising space. And that is good. It should stay that way, Google, if you're listening to this, and I almost guarantee that you are. Never change that. Because that is a space where you can sit and think. And there is no online spaces which are providing sitting and thinking time. Right. This is this is another way why I think this is important to keep this podcast how it is I like that space in between. I like sitting with a guest and having them think on camera, think in live time, think in real time. You ask them a question, they don't know the answer to it, so they have to sit and go, I love the one where I ask who I should speak to next, because some people know it's coming, some people don't. And even the people who know it's coming aren't entirely confident about what they're about to say. And there's a weird gap of moment. And I realize for people listening on the podcast, it could be jarring, which is usually why I say something in between that space. But I'd love to just leave that. I just like 5-10 minutes of someone thinking. You hear the cogs just like whirring in the brain and trying to get it to the right space and the right time and figure that out. And we need that background noise. We need online spaces where you don't do anything. You know, even I think games have been kind of co-opted into this as well. I think, especially modern gaming experiences. Again, I think back to old titles. I think back to games. I recently watched a video about Tomb Raider and the old Tomb Raiders. You plugged in the game, you plugged in the CD, pushed it into your console, put it into your PC, whatever you were doing with it, clicked play, and you were playing the game. That was it. I recently then started playing Hitman and downloaded it, did the update, got into the game, and the first 10 minutes was me figuring out the menu system, because it brought a pop-up of, hey, buy this DLC, do this, go here and buy this, you should experience this game, have you seen this latest release we did, have you touched on this? And I didn't want any of that. All I actually wanted to do was just play the game, but I was presented with all this stuff, and once I was in the game it was fine, but every pause menu I went to suddenly brought me another advert, suddenly told me I was missing out on something, suddenly tried to engage a constant whine in the brain. I think that what's interesting here is when I'm thinking about this and thinking about how all of this works, and when I think about people getting fatigued from social media and content and being pushed stuff, I always seem to think about, they seem to talk about it like it's intrusive, or they can't handle the amount of information. They can't handle what is being pushed on them, and that seems intrusive to them. Instead of just thinking about it as, well, these systems are designed for that, right? These systems, these programs are designed to bring you content. So that's what they're doing. They're constantly bringing you content. But what you're not realizing is that they aren't necessarily intruding on you. They're just engaging the part of your brain in a much more direct manner. I'm not sure any of that made sense. What I'm saying is, so the way you view things and the way you engage with the world is at pace, right? It's at a pace. It is at a progressive, stable pace. Like when you're having a conversation, there is a tempo and tenure to it, which makes it flow. It's the back and forth. It's why you can always tell when a conversation is not going quite right, because the flow's off. Someone's giving one-word answers. Someone's not following up on questions. It's almost unwritten. It's human interaction. It's invested technology and stuff like that. And then when you go to somewhere like work, that changes because you're in work mode. Your brain clicks into that work mode. Suddenly you can deal with hundreds of emails and requests, and you can run 20 conversations on the side while still chatting to somebody over there. You can do all of that because you're in work mode. And it's a higher functionality of your brain which is doing that. It is in work and survival mode, problem solving mode. And I think the mistake which has been made is that content systems are now engaging the wrong part of your brain. They should be engaging the turn off part of your brain, the relaxation part of your brain, the part of your brain which says, hey, you're here for entertainment, guys. You're here to sit down, enjoy yourself, have a moment, chill out, enjoy the product you have been provided, enjoy the comedy, enjoy the drama, enjoy the horror, enjoy just existing and consuming the product which you have purchased or are being provided for free. And they have drifted from that and instead gone, oh, no, 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 no. We should engage the production part of the brain. We should fully engage the area of the brain which is dealing with so many things at once that you don't even notice the time has passed. And in reality, what it's doing is wearing your brain out at a quicker rate because you don't realize you're working, right? It shouldn't be work to be on these platforms, should it? Even if you're paying for a platform, if you're paying for something like Prime or Hulu or whatever, it shouldn't be work and effort to exist on that platform. Because it's meant to be for joy. It's meant to be for art and entertainment and just, switching off from the day. So how have we got into a UI spot where it seems like effort to exist on those platforms? And this is what I mean. There is no safe space on the internet. The safe space has once again just become what's around you. I sit in this space and I think to myself, cool. I don't have to do anything. I don't have to be fed anything. The things which I am fed, I go and find. The things which I am fed are stuff which I engage with and stuff which I talk to. I understand from a business application point of view that keeping people engaged is the end point, right? I think that's true. And I think, sure, that's a business plan. That's just something you can be successful in. But I think you could also do it in such a way where people feel engaged with these things to a point where they don't feel like it's work. This has always been my issue with board games and games where the rules are incredibly complex or you have to spend a certain amount of time in them to succeed or enjoy the game. This is something like World of Warcraft, where you can play at a basic level. You can get into the game and you can play the game at a basic level, but to get real satisfaction out of it, which is something which gaming often provides, you have to actually involve yourself in these extra things. You have to do learning. You have to do extra time, and then it becomes a chore and it becomes a job. It becomes a second thing. You join in guilds and doing all this kind of stuff. And the same with board games. I sit down with a board game and I play with friends, and I'm thinking to myself, cool. I'm going to turn off the brain for a bit. I'm going to focus on this. This is a fun little thing where we can just, have a little game. And then 20 minutes into having the rules read to me, I'm like, this is work. This is something where I'm having to engage so many parts of my brain, which I was expecting to just have turned off. Challenge presented by entertainment is good. Too much challenge presented by entertainment is something which will eventually just detract from society. And I think this is as well, I was having this conversation with a friend recently about how we are moving more back into places which were physical, and we're moving more back into handmade stuff and nothing which is on demand, and removing on-demand aspects of our lives because it's draining. It's not even the mental health aspect of it. It's just the physical demands which is made on your brain and your body to exist in those spaces, to engage with those spaces. If you feel like you're being bombarded, that's probably because you are. It's probably because those spaces have now switched their model from, hey, come here, enjoy the things which we create, to, hey, come here, pay attention to all of this. If you don't pay attention to all of this, engage with the stuff around it to make it move quicker so you can get to the stuff which you actually want to see. And it's just not enjoyable. It's not. It's something which I try to avoid a lot within my own artwork. If the obligation to create overrides the want to create, you're not going to create stuff which you want to create. Every so often I'll do a challenge. I'll do Inktober, where I draw for a month. I'll do NaNoWriMo, where I'll write for a month. I'll invest myself in a challenge for myself. But again, I'm doing it of my own choice. I'm doing it of my own time. I'm doing it of my own volition. It's not, hey, log in every day. You have to log in every day. If you don't log in every day, then this will fall off. And if you don't log in every day, we'll stop showing people the stuff. And if you don't log in every day, you'll basically die. Which I know is an exaggerated form of that, but I don't know. I don't know if this was just amusing, which I was having, and it kind of got to me whilst I was in this state. By the way, to get out of this state, I drew something, because drawing is always and has always been the most key part of bringing me back to reality. And when I arrived back in reality, I looked at those platforms, and again, I didn't have the feeling of, hey, I'm overworked and all of this. I was just back in the regular cadence of, cool, these are entertainment platforms. But now when I open my phone, because I've had this moment of disassociation clarity, I'm sitting there going, well, when I open the app, I know what I'm going to experience. How can I find unobstructive and unintrusive spaces online? Do those spaces exist? Is there a space in the world for that to exist? And I think there is. I think down the line this is going to change and expand. And they're going to have to learn to balance these things, because if they don't, people, again, just move off them. They do. There's a lot to be said for the UI of platforms needing to be improved and needing to be balanced so people actually still want to engage with them. Things do come out as physically unusable, and that's why people don't use them. I signed up for an app, and the app was essentially unusable on my phone. The desktop was fine. Their website on the desktop was fine, but it was essentially unusable on the phone. And it was one of the main reasons for me stopping using that service, because I needed to be at a desktop in order to use that service. So I stepped away and said, yeah, you know what? This isn't worth my time. This isn't worth my energy and in this era. So I'll move on. I'll go do something else instead. I don't know. Maybe I've overthought it. Maybe I've underthought it. Maybe I'm still depressed. I mean, by the time you see this, maybe I'm not going to be in that state. Maybe I wasn't even depressed. Maybe I'll disconnection. Maybe I'll be back in it. Who knows? That's the beauty of the human mind, right? You never know where you're going to end up and how it's all going to pan out in the end. But until then, I'm hoping this continues to be just a safe conversational space. I'm hoping that's something which I can maintain and I won't have to change. And I hope that's I hope that's one of the reasons which you watch and you enjoy it. It's just that it's a slowed down version of everything else which is out there. It's somewhere to just switch off and unwind. It's the equivalent of if apps and socials and all of that stuff is going to the nightclub, then this is going to the local bar. This is going to the chill spot where there's not particularly much going on. And I think online needs to reclaim a little bit of that. And maybe it will. And maybe it won't. Who knows? But if you know safe spaces out there, and you know spots where it's just chill to be able to exist and not be bombarded, then shout them out in the comments. Till then, talk to you guys later.